All right, folks, I do have 7:02 on my time. Just a reminder before we get started with our meeting for today, just a reminder to stay muted. We'll have certain portions of our meetings and presentations where we can ask questions. And just a friendly reminder to folks that the meeting is being recorded, and that's just per the city's policy on capturing and recording of their various decision-making bodies and meetings. So what we will do now is call the meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. And if we can call the roll, and we will announce if we have reached quorum. Welcome, folks.
All right. We're going to start off with Commissioner Sizer,
Present.
Vice Chair Magana,
Present.
Commissioner Westphal is excused today, Commissioner Reyes. Commissioner Reyes is absent. Commissioner Thorson.
Present.
Chair Wendy is out today. Commissioner Mendoza.
Present.
Commissioner Kelly.
Hello, everyone. Right here.
Commissioner Jolly. Commissioner Jolly, right, absent. Commissioner Ramos. Commissioner Ramos, absent. Commissioner Brown.
Present.
Commissioner Brown. Oh, I see you there. And Commissioner Allen. Commissioner Allen, absent. And you have quorum.
What's the total number again? Just want to double check.
I'm sorry, you only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You only have 6, so you don't have quorum.
Yeah, quorum.
Sorry.
No problem. So because we don't have quorum, we'll keep an eye out to see if folks join, and hopefully we will have folks to make that quorum. If we do not, as a reminder, we won't be able to vote on any action items, which will be, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jill, pushed to the next meeting until we have quorum. However, we will be able to hear our informational items and still hear the presentations. Is that correct?
That's correct. And I believe the commission can engage in discussion, but just not action.
Awesome. Wonderful. If we can keep going on in the slideshow just to be there, we have that one done. So cannot go on to that one. So we'll go on to the public record. I believe we do not have any correspondence. Correct me if I'm wrong as well. Nope. Nope. Okay. And then we will move on now to open forum. If there are any members of the public that would like to comment on an item not on the agenda today, those that are wishing to speak, if you can please raise your hand via the Zoom function, we will call upon you and give you a maximum of 2 minutes to speak. So do we have any folks from the public wanting to speak today?
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, we'll wait. And Jill, correct, do we have to wait the 2 minutes? I forget, I apologize.
No, that's only if somebody's speaking.
Okay. All right, if there is no one here to speak for public comment, then we can move on to our next agenda item, which I believe is our youth commission announcements and updates. I believe our chair, Nicole, will be providing an informational update on the youth commission updates.
So, hi, my name is Megan Malloy. I'm a librarian with San Jose Public Library at Teen HQ. And this year I have the pleasure of being the coordinator for the Youth Commission. Nicole has graduated and moved on to their Ivy League school, but we have a brand new chair that was just recently elected at our Youth Commission retreat, Chair Chen. I'm going to let him speak and update you all on what's been going on with Youth Commission.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Gordon. As Ms. Malloy said, I am the new chair of the Youth Commission, and I'm just going to really briefly summarize our recent activities. So first of all, just thank you guys so much for giving me the opportunity to share what the Youth Commission has been up to. It is really important to us that we are able to effectively communicate our plans and goals to a broader audience. So right now, we're just getting started. We held our annual retreat to kick the year off on the weekend of August 4th and elected our chair, yours truly, and vice chair, and also attended a civic summit hosted by the library. A couple of our commissioners also met with the city manager's office recently to begin work on a youth master plan that will detail a new strategy for the city to take to provide youth with the resources and skills to become career ready. We will be having our first official commission meeting on the 22nd. And even though it is the first, we have a couple of exciting items on the agenda already. So for example, we will be voting on a potential leadership summit organized by our District 5 commissioner. So overall, we're just getting into the flow of things as the year kicks off, and I'm very optimistic and excited for the coming year. So again, thank you guys for your time, and see you guys soon.
Awesome, awesome. I apologize, Chair Chen, for not properly introducing you. Before we get into any questions or comments from the commission, we'll open up any public comments on the topic from the public. Is there anyone in the public that is commenting on today's topic? I'm looking for hands. I don't believe so. With that being said, we'll open up the floor to questions from the commission or comments from the commission. Any questions or comments? All right. Thank you again, Chair Chen. Really excited for your leadership and for what you all will do. I appreciate you taking the time to update us on the things that you are doing with all the busyness that I'm sure you have going on in your life and in your school career. So thank you so much. If there's anything that we can do, please let us know, but we appreciate your time. And if there's no questions, folks, we can move on to our next item. Thank you so much. Our next item on the agenda, as mentioned before, was an action item, so we won't be able to vote on this today, but it's on the library filtering ad hoc report. The commission, the conversation today will be to discuss the ad hoc committee's recommendation to continue the current practice of no filtering internet on children's computers. So we will have folks present, we'll open up to public comment, and then open up the conversation to our commission. I believe, Jean, you're doing the awesome.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair Magana. So as you mentioned, I'll be presenting tonight on the work of the Library and Education Commission's Ad Hoc Committee on Children's Computer Use. So I've got some background here. In 2009, the Library and City Council took up the issue of filtering internet access on children's computers. And eventually the council deferred consideration of filtering that would cost over $25,000 until specific conditions were met. And then last year in spring of 2021, a commissioner from the Library and Education Commission inquired about filtering, and the item was added to the work plan for the 2021-22 fiscal year. In fall 2021, it was August of last year, so a year ago right now, the Ad Hoc Committee on Children's Computer Use was formed. Next slide, please. And the committee worked over the course of the year and conducted research and reviewed filtering products. Staff conducted surveys and research, presented information to the commissioners, and provided reviews on filtering products. And I'll present a bit more on that in a slide that's coming up. You can go ahead to the next slide. The committee included 3 commissioners, Commissioner Mendoza, Thorson, and Zisser. And in addition, we had the following library employees that are listed here. Anne and I were the division managers on the team. And then we also had the IT manager, Hap Yielding, our web services, acting web services manager, Julia Borney, Rachel and Kyle, 2 managers for the system. And then we had 4 librarians, Jessica Chung, Lizelle Jackson, Natasha Lowell, and Lisa Molson, rounding out the committee. This is included in one of the attachments to the memo that's linked in the agenda. So our committee met 4 times. The full committee met 4 times, and then I held some additional meetings with the commissioners last spring. And the work included a review of filtering practices by other public libraries, peer libraries, as well as other Bay Area libraries and libraries around the country. The staff also conducted a review of the available literature on filtering and its effects in public libraries. And a summary of this work is in attachment C to the memo. The research indicated that the use of filtering carried some risk of overblocking and a possible curtailment of intellectual freedom. The team also conducted 2 staff surveys. The first one was actually before we had fully reopened after the COVID closure. And then we did another survey in November of last year. And the purpose of those surveys was to find out what kinds of behavior staff have observed from children using the library's computers. Those surveys indicated that there were few instances where staff had observed children accessing inappropriate materials on the library's computers. And there's a summary of that in your attachments, in your memo also. The staff also conducted and presented a review of some various filtering products and the products' privacy practices. And again, those are included as attachments to the memo. Next slide. So after the review and consideration of the materials, the committee's recommendation, as mentioned, is that the committee recommends that the library continue the practice of not filtering internet access on children's computers. In addition, the committee requests the following: that library continue to ensure staff presence and circulation in the children's areas, so to deter inappropriate computer use. And the committee also recommends that notices be posted on children's computers and that parents and guardians be informed when a child is registering for a library card that the children's computers are not filtered. And next slide is for questions and discussion. And I would also invite the commissioners who are part of the committee to chime in on what they'd like to add.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you so much. What we're going to do now is open up the conversation for public comment. For a reminder for folks that may be here for public comment, we have no more than 2 minutes to speak. Just want to open up, and I know we have some commissioners that are wanting to speak too. Once we get to that portion, I'm going to have a speakers list and I'm typing down to make sure I get everyone. Is there any public comment that we have?
I don't see any hands raised for our public.
Okay, if there is none, then we can open up the conversation.
Excuse me. Sorry to interrupt, but I have my hand raised. Sorry. Patty Andrade from District 8, representing Councilwoman Sylvia Arenas for public comment.
And you'll be making public comment as
on behalf of the Councilwoman. Yes, thank you.
Okay, we usually leave that until the council report, but if it's a public comment, then we can give 2 minutes. So if we can please time for 2 minutes.
Thank you. Great. Again, my name is Patty Andrade, and I'm here representing Councilwoman Sylvia Arenas for public comment. As the City Council liaison to the Library and Education Commission and the chair of the Neighborhood Services and Education Committee, Councilmember Arenas understands the importance of keeping our children safe when accessing resources at our city libraries. Councilmember Arenas appreciates the Commission's dedication to facilitating access to information for all residents. She also believes that it is important that children can safely access the internet, a powerful tool for learning. Councilmember Arenas supports the implementation of computer filters at a level that is minimally restrictive to aid children in safely navigating internet and to minimize the unintentional blocking of useful and informational sites related to jobs, education, and health. For example, it is important to ensure that minors can access resources on sexual education. Councilmember Arenas understands the importance of our libraries to our communities, especially to our children, and believes that we can find a path forward that will allow our children to more safely access the information and resources that they need. Councilmember Arenas welcomes the adoption of internet management tools in District 8 libraries that help ensure public access to information in a positive online experience for people of all ages. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other people from the public that are wanting to speak on this item? I don't believe so. Seeing none, we'll now open up the conversation to the commission. The first hand I saw was Commissioner Kelly.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciated that report. I don't really have any experience with that part of the library, so I'm just going to talk on previous experience. I'm curious what kind of parental input was requested and given to the committee that worked on this, or was it just strictly staff and commissioners?
We didn't seek any input from the public.
So what do you think about that? Shouldn't the parents be involved in this kind of thing? Aren't they an important player?
Can I address?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I wanted to just make a couple comments anyway, and I appreciate the council members' public comment through her staff. I just, before I get to Commissioner Kelly's question, I just wanted to thank Jean and the library team. It was a very thorough set of discussions, lots of research, which is all presented in the packet on the various potential tools, the risks associated with those tools, what other library systems do, what we've done historically, what we do with the devices that we hand out through the schools, which do include filters, and why that's different from the library. So lots and lots of discussion. I want to thank Commissioner Mendoza for broaching the topic and for really delving in with lots of important questions, and everyone who came to the table were open-minded and collaborative. So it was a really thorough discussion. I appreciate Councilmember Arenas' comments, but I for one want to assure her and her staff that this was a very thorough discussion, and I brought a couple different perspectives myself. One as a civil libertarian, as a civil liberties attorney, as a First Amendment purist, but also as a parent of two small kids. Commissioner Mendoza also came to the table as a parent as well as a commissioner. We wear multiple hats. And so while we did not invite members of the public specifically, and I'm not sure there's a particularly good reason for that, we absolutely came at this as parents and professionals. So my kids frequent the library; they use the computers. So that's to address in part Commissioner Kelly's question, but it was not an easy discussion. There are competing interests here. The safety of kids on the one hand, which is obviously paramount, and the intellectual and First Amendment freedom. So, and we looked again at will these tools overfilter? If they do overfilter, where does the burden then shift? Does it shift to the child to ask for access? Is that going to promote the child's engagement, or is that going to risk embarrassing the child? So we also tried to strike a balance with our recommendation, which also asks that there be notices posted so that parents are aware that there's not filtering on those computers. We looked at what other jurisdictions do, and it's pretty clear that the vast majority of jurisdictions around here anyway, their practice is consistent with the American Library Association's recommendation, which is that there not be filtering. So we looked at all of that. We had extra sessions because I think we were really wrestling with some very tough tensions and some competing interests. I have a lot of respect for Councilmember Arenas, a lot of respect. We worked on some things together and I always appreciate her perspective, but we were educated about how complex it is to put these filters in. It's not as simple as, well, let's filter out some things and we'll leave everything that we want. It's just not that easy. So that's all I'll say for now. Obviously happy to sort of weigh in as questions come up, but I really want to thank and uplift Commissioner Mendoza. Commissioner Thorson obviously brought an enormous amount of expertise, and everyone was very civil and collaborative. We disagreed at times, but it was always really respectful, and I appreciated the conversation. So thank you. And yeah, huge thanks to Jean. I mean, she just really carried the laboring oar there, and she really put together some great materials, some great content, and ultimately this presentation, and kept us organized and comprehensive. So I know I speak for everybody when I say we just greatly appreciated her help.
Awesome. We can go back. Commissioner Kelly, do you have other questions? Thank you for.
No, I don't have any other questions, but I appreciate what Commissioner Zisser told me, because I obviously haven't been involved in that. And I know Jean is terrific because I'm working with her on another project as well. So I appreciate all of that. But as a parent and as a person that is long involved in libraries, I really would like to have some parental input on this. Well, after all, it's their kids that are showing up. All I'm going to say, I just think parental input's really important in this. Everybody else had a chance to say something. Why not the folks who are most intimately involved with their child?
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to Commissioner Mendoza.
Well, just to echo what Commissioner Cesar mentioned, these 5 simple slides do not do justice to the work that Jean and everybody else, all the library staff, because we had librarians from some libraries also sit in these long meetings and listen to us, entertain our questions, and just come back with so much information. So we really appreciate everything you did. But I wanted to address your question, Commissioner Kelly. For me, I didn't ask so much for like a survey for parents. We did ask for a survey from the librarians themselves. And it was because the filters that we're talking about, so the system is Titan HQ, and that's already being implemented in the laptops that are checked out. And it's already implemented in some of them on the youth filters. So when kids take the youth hotspots, so when kids take the hotspot home, it comes with that filter built in. So that's why it wasn't as pressing for me to say, okay, let's stop this, let's get input from the parents, because it's something the library is already implementing. I think the push was more to have this filter in-house at the libraries in the children's computer areas, because it just seemed like the next step or the logical step. And just a little background on it. We originally started with using the filter as is, and then we agreed that perhaps it would be to only filter like the 5 top pornographic sites that get the most traffic. And that way we wouldn't be censoring any information, any data, any research that's sensitive to a child for learning or anything that they need to access. And so that's what we came to agree. However, we didn't hear from Titan HQ on their privacy policy and their data like best practices, whatever they're implementing. And so I think that kind of paused everything. So that's why the memo says that we are recommending no further action at this moment. And I know we can't take action, we can't do a vote today, but I would love to see perhaps when we do hear from them to bring it back in a future time. So perhaps in 3 months or 6 months when we have that information, and then at the time make the appropriate action.
Thank you, Commissioner Mendoza. Commissioner Thorson.
Thank you. I just want to second all of Commissioner Mendoza and Commissioner Sisser's thoughts about the process, and a big thank you to Jean and the library staff who did a really extensive literature review for us of really all of the studies that have been published. And I too am a parent, and so brought that perspective, as well as my perspective as a commissioner, and I'm also a librarian, so came at this with that perspective as well, where, as Commissioner Zisser mentioned, the ALA, American Library Association, recommends not filtering, and really the idea is to give people access to as much information as possible, because it's part of our democratic process. But I can see, and after talking with Commissioners Zisser and Mendoza and the other members of the subcommittee, you know, as a librarian, I realize going into the library that the libraries are a computer in the children's area. It doesn't have filtering, but those who aren't as familiar with the library might not realize that. So I think the recommendation that when parents or guardians get a library card, they are told that the children's computers aren't filtered and notices are put on those computers about that. I think that's helpful for parents to have that knowledge, to know that those computers don't have the filtering. And then we also learned too that in the staff surveys that of the library staff, in both surveys, there weren't any major issues raised. And the librarians do regularly go into the children's areas to make sure that that things are going okay. So it was already part of their general routine. So I found, as a parent, I found all of that reassuring that that it's already part of the process. And then we had made these that additional recommendation just to notify parents that that there is no filtering on the computers.
Thank you, Commissioner Thorson. I have Commissioner Brown.
Thank you. I'm really grateful that this was looked into, and I appreciated the report. I like that it has extra deep dive aspects to it if you want to explore more of what you looked at. What I wanted to ask is why we are stopping with just the notices and not asking families of youth in certain age ranges to sign a waiver. Were we seeing that as too much of a barrier, or was it discussed?
I wasn't on the committee, but so Commissioner Zisser or Mendoza, were you going to comment on that?
I'm happy to, or Commissioner Mendoza, if you wanted to comment, go ahead.
Take it away, Cesar.
Oh, I mean, I think it's a great point, Commissioner Brown. And you know, one of the benefits of it coming up from an ad hoc committee to the commission is that it really is an opportunity to hear from other commissioners and from the public. And I'm glad that, again, that Councilmember Arenas is represented here. And so if I'm remembering correctly, I have a notoriously terrible memory. I don't think that was discussed. So if I'm getting that wrong, I'll be corrected. But I think it's a great question, a great idea to consider. I think, you know, part of, and you may be talking about having sort of a waiver, sort of a standing waiver. I think there would be some questions about how the user accesses the computer if they need their library card, and how that would work, or if you're talking about when they sit down and do it. And I think part of, in terms of that that piece, we were thinking about kids who may be unaccompanied. There's a number of libraries where kids congregate after school as a place to wait for their parents or wait to go home. And so depending on what the suggestion is, if it was sort of a waiver each time, I don't think that would work. But if there was some technology where there could be a sort of a standing waiver and opt-in, I'd be interested in that discussion. I'm sure there are some pluses and minuses, and that would be worth discussing. And it looks like Jill probably has some thoughts. But the short answer is that was not something I remember discussing as part of the committee.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I agree that we did not discuss that.
If I could ask a question, Commissioner Brown, to clarify your question. When you speak to a waiver, do you mean a waiver that requires the individual to interact to ensure that they understand the issue of open internet access, or is it more like a liability type waiver to ensure that they are taking that responsibility and the organization is not?
I think it would be a waiver to ensure that they're responsible. And I think we could look at, I think in that list of the yes and no's on who had systems in place and who had filters in place and who didn't, one of them said no, but we have a waiver, and that would be maybe a template to consider and look at. I think, it's one way to really keep it on the family's radar is to also maybe do this every year, because as kids age, they're going to explore technology differently. And, if we just make them aware on notice at certain points, they may not always be there with the child less and less as the child gets more independent. So it's just to, more importantly, keep it on the family's radar so that they're having those discussions at home. And yeah, to, protect the library system, of course.
Commissioner Brown, any other questions?
No, I'll take my hand down. I apologize. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for your question. Commissioner Mendoza, I saw you raise your hand again.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to Commissioner Brown's question that we did talk about the possibility of possibly linking the filter to there's like youth library cards and the adult library cards, but it just seemed, as we were exploring costs and the different capabilities, we tested out the filters and everything, it came down to 35 cents per computer. So it just seemed reasonable to try and do it that way. And I don't think that's why we focus so much on the other path of linking it to the specific youth, their specific library card. For example, for my district, we had library staff today run the numbers, and it came out to $360 a year to add the filters for 2 libraries, which are in my district, and just to their children's computer area. So it's just really pennies compared to the 2009 memo, right, where it was like this huge number and it just seemed impossible to do. Or like people have mentioned, it didn't seem like that was the best way to eliminate a problem that wasn't as rampant as we thought. And so why invest so much money? But this right now, like what we're looking at, it just it's more reasonable. And you can't compare the technology, the filters that were being proposed in 2009 to the filters that we tested now.
Thank you, Commissioner Mendoza. Are there any other comments, questions from commissioners? I'm looking for any hands. Okay, a process piece. I do believe we have quorum now. And Jill, please again, sorry y'all, it's been a while since I've chaired a meeting. I believe we have to go back to approve the consent calendar in order to do that, correct?
Oh, to acknowledge that we have quorum.
Correct. And to approve the minutes.
We can go back and approve the minutes later. I guess the question is whether the commission can take action right now. And I believe that you can.
Yes, with a quorum, we would be able to.
Yeah, and so I think we could just go back at the end of the action items, perhaps, or the discussion items today, and you could go back to consent.
Wonderful. Okay, so if we do have a quorum and there's no more conversation or discussion on this item, the recommendation is to accept the ad hoc. Commissioner Zisser?
Yeah, just I didn't know we were going to take action, so let me just make I guess make a suggestion before a motion is made. With respect to Commissioner Brown's inquiry, I think that can be taken up separately. And so I would not suggest that we delay action on this pending inquiry into that, what I think is a really important, subtopic. But obviously I leave it to others to discuss. We can sort of have the motion and discuss whether, discuss that after. But if I wasn't going to engage in further discussion because I thought this would have to be put off till another time. But I just wanted to sort of mention that.
Thank you. What we can do then is I'd like to, just to be aligned with our agenda, entertain a motion so that we can then have a little bit more conversation. So I want to entertain a motion to accept the ad hoc committee's recommendation to continue the current practice of no filtering internet on children's computers. Do I have a motion to do so?
So moved.
A motion from Commissioner Allen. Do I have a second?
I actually wanted to propose an amendment to the motion. Should I wait to see?
Yeah, can we wait till we have a second and then we can talk about the second? Do I have a second for the motion?
Commissioner Jolly will second.
Thank you, Commissioner Jolly. Now we can have discussion and I'll defer over to you, Commissioner Mendoza.
Well, Commissioner Scissor, I know you wanted to propose something, so I'll let you do that first. I know you wanted to add something about the waiver, or yeah, go ahead.
No, I was suggesting we not add anything for now, and that can sort of be taken. I know Jean is very capable of running, surveys and research, and that's something we could, I guess, add and request that along with the motion itself. But I was suggesting we not do anything beyond, adopt the recommendation as it's currently stated. But I'm open to other things.
Commissioner
May
Mendoza.
I? Okay. I just wanted to add to the motion. I agree to put the signage on the computers and not take action in implementing filters throughout the library for the children's computers area. But I did want to include that when we do hear back, because there was an inquiry made for Titan HQ for their practices regarding privacy and data, that when we do hear back, to bring that back and then implement a pilot program. And I would volunteer the libraries in my district for that, Joe. But yeah, to test out and get feedback from the public, right? Like how Commissioner Kelly mentioned, and see how that works. But of course, always waiting for a step. I know we discussed in the ad hoc was hearing back from Titan HQ.
And Jill, a point of clarification on our end is, do we need a motion for that type of item?
So what I was thinking is that it might, sorry, my camera keeps freezing. It might benefit us to, it sounds like everybody is supportive of the original motion, and that the commission could ask that the item come back again with the additional consideration of items such as the privacy policy detail, additional engagement and notification is kind of how I'm capturing some of the questions, that some maybe engagement of families. We'd have to think through how that could happen. And then also consideration of a potential pilot to do in-person testing. So we had, we've done testing in the past. It's a long story, but so we have no problem with doing actual testing or a pilot type of situation. But I think we'd want to come back and bring that as a new discussion. if that works. And so then the chair and vice chair could work with us to put that on a future calendar item.
And would we need a motion for that in order to move that forward, just to make sure we're all on the same page?
Yeah, I think the motion would be to accept the recommendation. If the commission wishes, they could take that secondary motion, but otherwise they can just give you that direction as chair. And then we can add it to the calendar.
Okay.
They don't have to take the second action unless they wish to get it documented as an action.
Commissioner Mendoza, I want to defer back to you in terms of your amendment. Based off the information Jill just proposed, is that in line with the amendment that you were hoping to put into place?
That works. Yeah, that works.
I'm going to go back to the person who made the motion, which is Commissioner Allen. Would that be a friendly amendment to your motion?
Yeah, even though there's actually no such thing as a friendly amendment. You would have to vote on the amendment, and if it passes, it becomes the main motion.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Sorry.
Commissioner Allen, no, thank you. I want to make sure I'm doing this right. As I mentioned, it's been a while since I have chaired a meeting. So I do want to make sure we are following proper protocol so we can take a vote on the proposed amendment, I believe is the next step. So if we can call to, actually, I don't know if we want to do a roll call on this specific item just because of the nature of it, but if actually, yeah, let's do that. Let's do a roll call item, roll call vote.
Right. Just a question, a point of order. I've been involved in a lot of commissions, and friendly amendment is pretty standard. So my understanding is that the moving commissioner can just agree to amend her motion accordingly. I think there's still also discussion about the underlying motion. I wanted to get some clarification on the underlying motion itself, but maybe I'm wrong about friendly amendments, but that was my understanding.
My point now is that I'm really not understanding what the amended motion is. It seems a little convoluted. And I think we need to have a better understanding, Commissioner Mendoza, of how you were stating that amendment before we vote on it. Because the original motion was just to accept the ad hoc committee's report at this time. And like Jill said, we can always come back to address other issues that come up with this. So can Commissioner Mendoza restate the amended motion? I'd appreciate it.
So I don't know if it's in the slide, right? I don't recall off the top of my head if it's indicated in there, but the reason why we came up in the ad hoc committee with recommending no action right now throughout the library system was because we didn't hear back from the provider, which is Titan HQ. And so my amendment is to, because again, I can't remember if it's in there or if it's in the memo, to come back whenever we do hear, because there was inquiry made. So when we do hear from them, to come back and then make a decision based on the new information coming in. But as of now, we've been working on it for a year. And so we didn't want to prolong it, just waiting, for this provider to contact us or respond. Does that help a little?
It does help. Were you going to be adding the waiver or just the notification?
No, that was Commissioner Scissor. If you want to jump in, Commissioner Scissor, as to why you didn't want to add that.
Well, I actually had another question. The recommendation, as stated in the report, includes things in addition to continuing to practice not filtering. So it includes, notices and on the computers and informing parents at the time of library card registration. So I just was the original. I just want to clarify whether the original motion is capturing that language that's in the report, or if it just got abbreviated. I want to just clarify for folks that yeah. So thank you. So this recommendation was really a reflection of what I was talking about earlier, which is sort of this reconciling this tension that exists, right? These competing interests. And so wanting to ensure that parents are advised that there's additional measures to ensure children's safety, but also making sure that they remain unfiltered, at least, for now and until we get any further information. So maybe this is a question for the chair or the commissioner who made the motion, to clarify whether the motion encapsulates the entirety of what was in the report, which, as one of the committee members, and I think I speak for the other committee members, we would want to see all of this language reflected in the motion. Maybe one of us should have made the motion, but I think we were trying to see if other people had buy-in to the recommendation.
And Jill, clarifying, the motion is to accept, the recommendation is to be accepting the report that is in front of us today, correct?
That is correct. And thank you, Commissioner Zisser, for reminding us of that. That the full motion would actually be all of this language that's on the slide. But you could shorten it by saying accepting the language that's provided. And actually in that case, there really doesn't need to be additional motion unless the commission desires it, because the staff could then commit to coming back with more information around implementation of this recommendation. And that could include items such as a pilot program or additional levels of engagement and notification.
And I think with that being said, with this awesome conversation and discussion, thanks y'all for keeping this going. With that interpretation and understanding, I do think Commissioner Mendoza, would make sense for us to keep the original motion, which is to accept the current report that's at hand, which would then still enable staff to be able to come back and work on some of those items. Commissioner Zisser, did you still have your hand raised as well? Okay. I'll leave the discussion is still, we had a first and a second, so the discussion floor is still open. Do we have other comments, questions? And going back to Commissioner Mendoza, are you good with that interpretation with that first and second based off that motion that we have?
Yeah, when I added my, I guess, amendment, it was including all of this language. So just so Commissioner Susan, Commissioner Allen, we were on the same page. It's just I didn't say all of it. It was just my understanding that all the language is included, and I just wanted to add like this one little sentence saying the commitment to come back and exploring, like what Jill mentioned, the further details once we have more information.
Thank you. I appreciate the grace and patience with everyone, with my chairing of the meeting as well. With that being said, if there's no more comments or questions, I think I will call to a vote. All those in favor of approving the report that has been presented, say aye.
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 All opposed? And any abstentions? All right, it sounds like we have unanimous support. Motion passes. Thank you all so much for that. Thank you for that great conversation, great questions, and great presentation from staff. Excited to see what we come out on this next item. So moving on, great work, y'all. We'll move on to our next information item, which is our bond program plan. So we will be having a presentation. Sorry, my notes are freaking out here. There we go. We will be having a presentation and an update on our bond program. I can turn it over to staff.
Good evening, everyone. It's my great pleasure to introduce our facilities manager, Ann Tran. who joined us a little while ago and has been doing fantastic work in getting our facilities plans going, dealing with a lot of security issues. She also oversees our what we call interbranch delivery, which is all the big trucks that take the materials from branch to branch, which is like a modern miracle still. So I want to thank Anne for all of her hard work, and take it away.
Thank you so much, Jill, for the introduction. Good evening, commissioners. I'm happy to be here to present to you an update on our bond program. The last time I've done this update was a while ago. I think it was November of last year. So a few things to update you on. Next slide. You've seen this before. In the end of 2021, we were proposing how to develop a fiscal year 2022 bond project. And we are here in the project implementation and initiation phase. Next slide. I presented this in November, where we walked through a timeline of what it would take from the establishment of a bond project management and development team all the way to closing out the project. We have since completed a draft scope of services. We ran that by our Public Works CFAS department, which is the architectural firm team that manages the master agreements for all of our architecture firms. That is much needed in the beginning process of any bond program. The project team would then help us initiate a draft scope of work, a budget estimate, and then go out and solicit the contractors or the vendors on the master agreement. So we are now at the point where the vendors who are interested in the work would kind of send us a proposal of what they're willing to do, what they're able to do, and what their cost is. So that's where you see the yellow circle. This is where we are. Next slide. What that means here in this particular stage, especially around the scope of services, is there are about 4 components to a contract scope of service, especially for a bond spending plan or anything that is a major renovation project involving bond funds. First, you assemble the experts. This is your structural engineers, your cost estimators, mechanical engineers, anything that goes into the framework of the building. The yellow arrows, or the yellow highlighted arrows are steps in which a community engagement process would happen. We have sent out a kind of call for proposal to the 4 architecture firms that we have on the master agreement. Only one has responded and put in a bid, and COVID has changed many things. Our contracts with our vendors have lapsed. Everyone is facing supply and labor constraints. So the firm that has gone back to us is ABA Anderson Brule to work on this bond project. I want to remind you that we have a small remainder of the bond, so about $5.9 million. We have talked about what that could mean for the libraries in terms of renovation efficiency projects. And when the scope of services come back, we are really applying this to Biblioteca Latinoamericana Library. It is the branch that needs a lot of work. The HVAC system alone would cost about $500,000 to replace, and that doesn't really do anything to solve accessibility, parking constraints, etc. So when the scope of services came back, we need to see how much it would cost for the contractor to, 1, assemble the experts, 2, help us with the community engagement process, get feedback from the community, also draft up those conceptual designs, schematics, drawings, and then also help us with the construction documents. Permitting is a labor-intensive task. Something that our city team doesn't have the capacity for. And then the construction, bidding, and management of contractors is all encompassing in this scope of services. So next slide. With that said, that is the bulk of our bond funds, the estimated cost for tip-to-tail construction, initiation, design, and administration is around $1 million. That is the amount that we have allocated for the initiation of the Biblioteca Latinoamericana Library branch. And that work has begun. So we are pretty much on track with our bond spending program. I want to draw your attention to our other capital improvement projects that also impact our current bond funding. So over the past year, some major projects that have been done or completed: a major replacement on HVAC for Almaden Branch Library, boiler replacement for West Valley. The summer is usually the time where we want to get these things done so that in the winter, our staff aren't freezing or dealing with extreme temperature fluctuations. For Hillview, we recently carried through a roof replacement and then did major improvements in the interior of Hillview following our security incident. Next on our list for this year, we have a book locker installation RFP, so a bid that went out and closed last year. We are in the process of evaluating the branches that would need book lockers, balancing that with Sunday hours, obviously. And then looking at other high needs repairs in terms of HVAC, boilers, and replacement. This would pretty much impact our capital spending plan for the next 2 years. However, we were lucky enough to have the opportunity to seek external funding. So next slide. So $5.9 million, 25 branches. Things are falling apart. The branches that are built 25 years ago are now hitting their end of lifespan. So what do? The state announced that there was a Building Forward Infrastructure grant worth $435 million for all California libraries to have an opportunity to apply for. The city of San Jose, or the library actually did put in 9 applications for 9 branches. The consideration for the branches, we had to load balance between branches that got recent repairs, major repairs. We referred to our condition assessments of equipment, condition assessments of the building itself. And then we followed the state's California Poverty Measure Index to prioritize need, lifespan of building. There's some buildings that are much older, need more intensive repairs. And then the grant itself was tiered in terms of criticality. So emergency and accessibility was critical. Tier number 1 had more weight. Carpet replacement, furniture repairs are obviously category 4. So we weighed that against what the state's criteria are, and then obviously the operational impacts to major repairs, so that we don't all of a sudden go out and fix all of the libraries that are in the highest need areas and close them all down and put and displace people. So the total cost in which we were seeking state funding for is half of what you see there. So about $12 million is our ask for the state. $12 million is because the state is saying that we have to guarantee local match. So that would really impact our bond spending, but you'll see here, Biblioteca Latinoamericana is the most costly application that we put forward with the state, realizing that that is the branch that needs the most of our resources. And we are hoping that the state would make a decision soon, and we would better understand where we are financially with our local match commitment and the work that needs to be done. Next page. Oh, and that pretty much wraps up all the fun things that we're doing in the library as it relates to our facilities and our branches.
Awesome. Thank you so much for a thorough presentation. Hopeful that the state will let you all know soon too about this funding. Before we open it up to the commission, do we have any folks from the public who would like to make a public comment on the item? I don't believe so. All right, we'll turn it over to our commission. Commissioner Kelly.
Yes, thank you. Boy, that's really great information. I appreciate that. I haven't seen anything like that come up so far. A couple of questions for you. I'm assuming that BLA is Biblioteca.
It's Biblioteca.
Okay, great. Yeah, I've been doing a project with Biblioteca, and they are so excited about that project. Does that include the Wiener Schnitzel next door parking lot, or is that some other issue?
We have a running joke about how we want to take over the Wiener Schnitzel site, but it is that we would have to purchase that land. I don't think it's part of the current plan.
Yeah, that's going to disappoint everybody over there. They're really limited for parking at Biblioteca. Second question has to do with Bascom. The money that's allocated for repairing the roof, is that the damaged area that is an overhang rather than the roof itself?
Yes, so we call it the crooked tiles here at the library. We have sought state infrastructure grant funding for Bascom. One thing I should mention is while we are waiting for the state to determine our eligibility and our grant funding amount, we also have to load balance between the critical work that is happening, that needs to happen soon. And then, so for any branches that were submitted as part of the initial round of applications, there is a opportunity for us to seek reimbursement. So Bascom is slotted to have its ceiling and roof repairs slotted for this year, with the understanding that if we hear back from the state, we will seek a reimbursement structure the funding.
Yeah, it's really a critical emergency process. It's all cordoned off with yellow ribbons at this point, but it's really dangerous. Also, it's not inhabited anymore by a business, so that makes it much more easy for you folks to get in there. Thanks for that report. Really great. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Kelly. Other comments or questions from the commission? All right. Just a reminder, that was an informational item, so we will not need to vote on that specific presentation. Thank you again for the thorough presentation and for taking the time to update the commission. We can move on to our next informational item, which is our library spotlight. We will be talking about library by mail. I'll turn it over to staff.
Hi, good evening, commissioners. I'm Jenny Choi, Deputy Director of Operations. I'm very excited to highlight this service for you tonight. I think there was some interest in not only kind of what our Disability Access Committee has been doing, but also this service in general. And I did want to quickly introduce in her commission debut, Rebecca Gonzalez is here with us tonight. We both have our fancy library by mail background, so you could probably recognize her on the panel. Rebecca is our branch manager / senior librarian. She oversees West Valley and Calabasas branch libraries. And she's actually our staff lead for the Disability Access Committee. So I'm going to go and get us started. Next slide, please. So in 2019, December 2019, the SJPL put together a committee to, I think the initial intent was to kind of discuss ADA considerations, how do we address that? But we decided it was a good opportunity to incorporate how we could better increase access to our services for people with disabilities. So the Disability Access Committee, or DAC, as we go by, the acronym is what it's called, was created. And it is an all-staff, a small but mighty, as we like to say, all-staff committee that's dedicated to the equitable access of library services. And our charge really is to assess and make recommendations and implement improvements based on the evaluation of equitable disability access to services, resources, technology, and staff guidelines at the library. One of the main projects that we wanted to roll out as we started this work was identifying that, many public library systems actually already offered like a library by mail program. And it took us some time to get it off the ground. I do want to give a shout out to our old staff lead, Emily Lowell, who was really instrumental in pushing and driving this initiative. She actually left to another library system. But her and I worked really hard. There was some legalese we kind of had to navigate to set up a process that would legitimately get us like vetting people that could utilize the service, and then setting up the protocols for us to be able to actually roll it out internally. So we soft launched Library by Mail in the summer of 2021. It was a little slow. We weren't sure how popular it was going to be. It was unfortunately during COVID. So I think we kind of cautiously approached the rollout, and then when it kind of wasn't really going anywhere, we decided we needed to do a little bit more of a harder push for it. So in April of 2022, we conducted some additional promotion and outreach. You may have seen we promoted it via all of our social media outlets. We have several community partners within the DAC committee. So we kind of pushed it out to all of our community partners. A lot of those include like Parents Helping Parents, the Silicon Valley Independent Living Center. So we've actually seen a little bit of an uptick since we've done that. So it's nice. It's still kind of, you know, slowly getting off its feet. Next slide, please. And library by mail, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's a service that provides books and other library materials by mail to SJPL members of all ages who are unable to visit the library due to a temporary or permanent disability, excuse me. Next slide. And how it works, this is just a little overview on the process. So we have the application process. It's available in paper form. We have, you're able to apply online, and it's also translated and available in Spanish, Vietnamese, Chinese, and Korean. There is a certification piece. We do ask for documentation of some sort to verify that the customer is unable to visit the library. Of course, we do not need to know the diagnosis. And once that once they're certified and they've had their application in, we enroll them and they are able to begin requesting materials. The requesting materials is the same process as our normal customer accounts. It's just requesting holds via your library account. And we do offer like a reader's advisory type service. So if people want assistance selecting books or selecting materials in specific subjects, we're more than happy to connect them with the librarian to help with that. The items are delivered within 2 to 4 business days. We're actually kind of testing the shipping times right now because I think we're seeing some inconsistencies on you know, the packages getting out and back in. We are also it's also trying to make it as accessible as possible. We understand like some people don't have access to mailbox. So in general, you should be able to hand the package back to a mail carrier, drop it off at a library if you know somebody can help you do that, or just pop it into a mailbox. But we did run into one issue that we're kind of working through. I think one of the mail carriers wasn't familiar with the program, so they were not taking the package from a person. But I mean, these are again things that we're kind of trying to work out during the pilot. And then to cancel the service, all you have to do is contact the library, contact a member of DAC, and we can actually switch their account back over to a regular customer account. So while they are enrolled in a library by mail, their card use is restricted to only receiving items by mail. So we, you know, obviously they can't, just so that we know that they aren't going to the library and checking out materials while they're enrolled in this service. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, there has been a little bit of a challenge, you know, rolling this out during a pandemic, getting the word out. What we found, and as in the committee, from the committee in general, it is really hard to identify where our vulnerable populations are regarding people with disabilities. There's really not a great amount of data that shows us, you know, what areas we can target and demographic data. We've been working on looking into that, utilizing county data. We have actually connected with several community partners. So we're utilizing those partners to get the word out, which has been really helpful. So currently, I think we have 8 certified participants. I just checked our list today. It looks like there's 2 or 3 more pending. So we are over 10, which yay, it doesn't sound like a whole lot, but you know, I think it was, again, it's a little bit hard to get the word out. I just don't think people realize that the service could be available at the library. We had 38 items so far borrowed through the service. We have 53 holds, which I love that, but we're kind of wondering how we can kind of speed things up so we can get all those holds out to our folks as well. And so far we had 19 packages mailed, and then shipping costs were about $113, well worth the effort of, you know, getting the materials into folks' homes. It is actually not cheap to ship books, as we're finding. Obviously, postage rates are based on weight. So some of the packages where we have multiple items in there we're finding that they're a little bit more expensive than we were anticipating. But, you know, of course, this is a priority for us. So we're more than willing to look at our budget in the middle of the year and see if we need to add postage capacity. Next slide, please. And so what's next for this service? We are looking to revisit our certification process. We have gotten a little bit of feedback that it's not as easy as we thought for folks to be able to get a document that certifies that they have, you know, they're unable to visit the library. We are monitoring the data. and considering process improvements, finding ways to seek additional funding for postage as needed. That'll probably just be part of our budget process this year. And this is really exciting. You may have all seen, we launched an accessibility survey to our customers to gather feedback, not only on this service, but to see if there's any other needs within the community that we could address within the DEC committee. We had over 230 responses, so that was really exciting for us. Clearly this is something that's getting flagged for folks in the public, so we'd like to keep that momentum and reaching out to people who might be interested in spreading the word on this. And one of, I think, a goal of mine in the long term that we're kind of looking at is just considering what some sort of device lending program might look like. It's going to be, that one's a little bit more challenging because, sending a device through the mail can be kind of a risky thing. They don't guarantee that the devices will be protected, but it's definitely something we're opening to explore. I think we're going to take a look at like the usage, the types of materials that people would like to see available through this service and make some decisions around that for our next year's work plan. And then next slide, please. One thing I did want to share, we have gotten some really great feedback and comments from our customers that have been utilizing the service. I'd like to share a couple. We've had a variety of people enroll. We have a minor that actually is enrolled in the program, and their mother actually helps them select the materials. We also had one comment that was particularly impactful from a fellow librarian who actually works up in the North Bay. She found the service for her dad, who lives down here in San Jose, and she wrote to us to let us know that another family member was at his house and they helped him access an ebook of The Hobbit. They enlarged the screen so he could read it. They took a photo and sent it to the family, and it brought me to tears. Sorry, it's so sweet. Libraries give life and meaning, often without ever knowing the joy. Thank you for electronic access on this type of account. It brings him so much independence and flexibility. The print books will be ready and helpful when he has no one there to help him with the computer. So it's really awesome to hear that feedback. I love that she's a librarian, and she was, she reached out to us to see if she could help him get enrolled in the service. It was really great. And just in conclusion, as we come to the one-year pilot, again, we're considering some changes to make it easier for folks to enroll. And I'd like to acknowledge our small but mighty DEC team: Rebecca Gonzalez, as I mentioned, Carla Alvarez, Bill Bowman, Victoria Coverson-Baxter, Lisa Giannotti, Dawn Amata, Isla Langner, Rosalinda Savercole, and Carrie Sherman. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much for a thorough presentation. Before we jump into questions, and I do have a speaker list, I want to double check to see if we have any folks from the public with public comments on this topic. I'll pause. All right, I have a speakers list of folks' hands that I saw in order. So Commissioner Kelly.
Yes, thank you, Jenny. That's a lot of fun. I'm really happy to see this program going on. I have a suggestion for you. Some of the library branches are working with a bookseller who has moved his complete warehouse here into San Jose, and they ship literally hundreds, if not thousands, of books a day by mail. Would you like to speak with those folks to see how they've lowered their costs on shipping?
That'd be great. Yes, please feel free to connect Rebecca or myself with that person. That'd be fantastic.
I'll send that information directly to you.
Thank you.
All right.
And I'll spell your name right this time.
Thank you, Commissioner Kelly. Is that everything on your end?
That is everything on my end.
All right, Commissioner Scissor.
Sorry. I have a thanks. I mean, this is an incredibly important program. So glad to see it's happening. Sorry, my technology is acting up, so I'm just going to keep my video off. And I hope it grows. I have a couple questions. First question may have a follow-up question depending on the answer. I want to make sure I understood one piece of it correctly. If a person's enrolled in this program, they are not able to go into the library and pick up, and they are not able to put a hold and then pick up later at the library. Is that correct?
Well, they actually just can't go in and check out books with the library. They can put holds on, and then what happens is when they place a hold, we'll automatically ship it out to them.
Okay. The follow-up to that question is, I mean, it seems to me you could sort of monitor, see how often they're going in to the library. If they're only going in like very infrequently, then no red flag about the authenticity of their disability claim. If they're going in every week, that's a different story. I'm very curious about how you arrived at that decision and whether you got input from people with disabilities about that. And my 2 cents is that, you know, I used to do a lot of disability rights work. I had clients with disabilities, and whenever they could get out, they would get out. And so if they had an aide or they had a relative who visited every couple months, they'd go to their coffee place, maybe they'd go to a bookstore, a library. Doesn't mean that during the rest of the time, you know, those intervening 2 months or 6 months, they're really not able to do that, right? And so I would think we would want to promote their ability to go into their favorite places in the community, however frequently they're able to. And just because they're able to do that from time to time, certainly does not mean that they're not disabled.
Sure.
I mean, that is
to be clear, there's nothing saying that they can't visit a library. It's just how their account is set up that they wouldn't be able to check it out. However, you know, if they happen to be at the library and they would like to check something up, you know, all they would have to do is connect with one of the staff people, and we could just allow them to do that. So there's not something saying that they're not allowed to visit while they're in the service. It's just the mechanism for how the books are checked out to them.
So if they checked it out at the library, it would be delivered to them, or they could check it out and take it them?
They could. I mean, they could just ask, you know, say that they're enrolled in library by mail and take it up to a desk and have them take that off their account, and they could check it out for them while they're at the library.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's important to understand. And I would hope that the users would be aware of that. My only other question is, I know you mentioned outreach, and you were sort of lamenting the small numbers at this point. I mean, you know, I guess I'm curious, what are the sort of plans to get the word out? I mean, are there, you know, I don't know, it seems to me there would be, you know, whether it's the VA or, you know, other places where people with disabilities might frequent, senior citizen centers, senior residential living centers, etc. How are you getting the word out about the program?
Well, that's what we're doing, is actually building that list of our community partners that would potentially have folks that are engaged, or that, you know, could utilize the service. We have actually worked with multiple senior centers. I think there's a whole list of organizations that we have a contact list for, but I'd be happy to take any additional contacts if you have some, or suggest. We also work with, you know, our internal city manager's office. They're kind of starting to, as you probably know, they're starting to prioritize some of the disability access work as well. So we're connected with the city manager's office, and they are looking to hire a disability affairs assistant to the city manager. So we absolutely have plans to kind of connect with them to make sure that we're engaging with whomever we can in the community to help spread the word about our services, especially as we kind of build other services around this.
Yeah, probably some good partners at the county agencies too. Sorry if I missed that earlier. My kids are getting to bed, so I might have stepped away when you were talking.
No worries. Thank
partners,
you.
But I imagine it's challenging. Anyway, I think it's a fantastic, just a fantastic program. It is a shame it costs so much. I hope that stays manageable, but it does seem like it's worth it, and it certainly will improve the quality of life for people who are benefiting from that program. So thanks for doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Brown.
Hi, thank you so much for presenting on this. I'm very involved with the disabled community through our Parents Helping Parents, and encouraged that you're reaching out like this. I'm wondering about the certification process, because we face that a lot in the disability realm over and over and over, and it gets a little PTSD every time we see certification. And I want to make sure that we're keeping it as barrier-free as possible and accessible.
Right. That's definitely something that's like the number one thing we plan on revisiting as the pilot kind of comes to a close. And it's certainly something we've heard feedback on how it's challenging. We don't want to create any additional barriers to be able to enroll. So yes, happy to provide a follow-up as we kind of make some decisions around that.
Great. And if you ever want to walk me through it, so you get one more ambassador out there, I'm happy to do it because I definitely connect with a lot of groups. So I'd be happy to help you spread the word. I'm excited to hear about this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll pop the website in the chat so that you will have access to it, and it'd be great to help spread the word. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from commissioners? All right, seeing none, thank you again for a thorough presentation. Thank you for the questions from our commission. Again, this was an informational item, so we are not voting on anything. So we will keep it moving in our agenda. Moving on to council liaisons announcements. Do we have our council liaison here to provide us with an update? I'm not sure if is Patty still on by chance? Or Maria?
On, but
Yes, I am. Sorry, I was trying to click and I was on the wrong screen. Sorry.
No problem.
I'm sorry. What were you?
We're at the point of our agendas. We're on the council liaison report. If you have any announcements or reports for the commission.
Sorry. There we go. Okay. So again, I'm Patty Andrade, and I'm here on behalf of the councilwoman, and Mariela couldn't make it today. So nice to be here. We hope that everyone has had a fun and enjoyable summer. Now that this is August, so we're wrapping it up. Most schools started today, which was exciting, especially in Evergreen School District. The high school started last week. And we hope and we wish that all the students are having a great first day back to school. As a council office, it's been a lot of fun to participate in the different back to school events, and we've also been participating in Viva Parks, and we love Viva Parks. It's a lot of fun. So if you haven't been to your local Viva Parks, please do so, because they're a blast and you get to meet so many of the community members. So we love it. And we also would like to invite you to the next Neighborhood Services and Education Committee, the NSE meeting on Thursday, September 8th at 1:30, if you can make it. It's a hybrid meeting, so that really helps to make it, more accessible to everyone. The city auditor will present a report on the Bill of Rights for Children and Youth. The item was deferred last week to the September 8th NSC committee meeting, which means that the report is live now and can be accessed through the August NSC public agenda on Legistar. The objective of the audit was to review the adherence to and implementation of the Bill of Rights for Children and Youth, which was updated by the Youth Commission and approved by Council in the spring of 2021. We hope to count on your participation, and that's pretty much it from our office. Thank you. If you have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for our council liaison? I don't believe yes, Commissioner Allen.
I just wanted to ask about the NSE meeting on September 8th.
Yes.
What time did you say that was, and where will it be held?
It's 1:30 and it will be a hybrid meeting. So it will either be held in one of the committee rooms, or you can attend through online.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you so much for taking the time to provide us with an update. Thank you for joining us. If we can go on to our next slide, because we're now going to go to a chair's announcement. I don't have anything except I just wanted to give props to staff. We worked on this on a long time ago, which was our early education standards. I was happy to have my daughter join the Parks and Rec summer programming that they had that were aligned to those standards. And it was amazing to have her come home with lots of learning, with lots of arts and crafts, literally came home with something new every day. So we're adding to our collection. And she's really excited to be joining the pre-K Spanish immersion program through the Parks and Rec program. So I just want to say thank you to our staff for working on those early standards and working with Parks and Rec to create a really awesome program for our students in the city that's affordable for families as well. That's everything on my end. We can move on to our library director's comments. So Jill, anything on your end?
Yes, thank you. We've had a very busy summer, as you know, and so I have a number of updates and a few things to look out for. So first, between June 1st and July 31st, we did have more than 11,000 residents registered for the Summer Learning Program, which is equal to the combined total registrations from the past 2 years when we were in the pandemic stages. Readers logged nearly 72,000 titles and more than 6.7 million minutes were read. We could translate that to hours, I'm sure, but it's pretty exciting. All participants under 18 years old received 2 free books for participation, and participants in each age category who completed the program were entered into the grand prize drawings. Next, we have the graphic novel making contest that happens every year. The 14th annual graphic novel making contest ended on July 31st. We had 214 entries submitted from 223 participants. Entries were judged by library staff and volunteers. The winners will be announced at the virtual awards ceremony, which can be viewed over Zoom or YouTube or in person, or at one of our 8 watch party locations in libraries on Saturday, September 10th at 2 p.m. All age group winners will receive a prize box, and other participants will receive a participation prize. For more information about the award ceremony, which is truly fabulous every year with great guest speakers and hundreds of participants, go to sjpl.org/graphic novel contest. Next, we have a really exciting event happening tomorrow evening. The library is celebrating our early education services program that supports family, friend, and neighbor caregiver support network participants. This celebration, I always say the FFN wrong, and Araceli's not here to correct me, but the Commission is well aware of this program to honor the accomplishments of those who completed our 21-22 program. The celebration will be held at the Mexican Heritage Plaza on Thursday, August 18th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. FFNs in this program receive one-on-one support from library staff and live virtual workshops. In addition, they also receive special training, supplies, and resources that will ensure that they provide high-quality care to children in San Jose. Since the program's launched in 2019, there have been 165 participants in 3 cohorts. Our FFNs are local home-based license-exempt childcare providers of children ages 0 to 8. And for more information about the FFN Caregiver Support Network, please visit sjpl.org/FFN. Next, really exciting happening on Saturday. The friends, families, and communities of our Hillview Branch Library are all invited to come together to reclaim our neighborhood library and build our community engagement during a special event scheduled for Saturday, August 20th from 2 to 6 p.m. The event is free for all to attend and will feature entertainment and activities such as a puppet show and musical performances and face painting and community resources, prizes, food, refreshments, including tacos and egg rolls and even churros. So much, much more. Information is available at sjpl.org/Hillview. And one more thing to celebrate, we want to say congratulations to the class of 2022 and our career online high school graduates. In our 9th graduation ceremony was held on August 4th at the City Hall Rotunda, where 21 students attended the first in-person graduation ceremony we've had in some time. Since the program began in 2016, a total of 143 San Jose adults have obtained their accredited high school diploma, and currently the library is supporting 31 more adults who are working to complete this program. The Career Online High School is offered at no cost thanks to our wonderful partners and supporters, including the San Jose Public Library Foundation, the California State Library, and the San Jose City Council, who have provided 350 scholarships in the last 6 years. We're also very grateful for the commitment, the one-on-one support, and the motivation of our staff in the Partners in Reading unit that offers the students through this program. If you're interested in learning more about Caroline High School, you can always visit sjpl.org/COHS. I also really encourage commissioners to attend a future graduation ceremony. They are among the most inspiring you will ever have the joy of attending. And then lastly, we are preparing for our 3rd year. The library will be participating in this year's Silicon Valley Pride Parade on August 28th. The library staff will be marching in the parade along with other city departments down Market Street and distributing SJPL Pride swag to spectators. To learn more about the parade, please visit svpride.com. And that concludes my comments. I am open for any questions.
Thank you, Jill. Lots of great things to celebrate. Lots of awesome things happening with our library system. We'll open up the floor for any questions for Jill. Commissioner Allen.
I just wanted to say and concur with Jill about the career online high school graduations. This was one of the first ones I've missed due to health issues. And I really did miss it because honestly, I have cried at every single one. I don't know any of the students, but it is such an uplifting, heartwarming celebration of perseverance on the part of these students. So if you ever get a chance to attend, like Jill said, please do. You'll really, it's really worth it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Other comments or questions for our library director? All right, if there are none, thank you again, Jill, for the thorough presentation. Again, great work with everything that is going on with our library and has gone on. We'll move it over now to any announcements from our commissioners. So either friends groups or updates or meetings attended by commissioners. As commissioners, I have the floor open.
Yes, I will report for the Friends if you don't mind.
Go ahead, Commissioner Kelly.
Sure. At Bascom Library, we're preparing for our 10th anniversary of our grand opening next year. So that's an exciting project that's coming. In cooperation with Jean, we're working on reestablishing the Friends group at Biblioteca Library. We've already had 3 meetings on that score, and I met again yesterday with Oscar, and we're starting to accept donations again. We've got a little kiosk set up for free books until we can figure out how to take money from people, because we don't have a cash box yet. But that's going to be a fun thing for the Biblioteca Library. And they're going to be really excited if they don't already know that they're going to have this project going. I know Oscar talks about that all of the time. With regards to some of the other Friends groups, it's really catch and go at this point. During the COVID crisis for the 2 years, almost all of the Friends groups dissolved. And that's a project that is slow in rebuilding. So many of the places are taking donations. Some of them are not holding sales anymore because they just don't have the staff to do it, but that's going to be a project we're working on. Also pleased to announce that the All Friends group, that's a communication group that talks to all of the Friends groups for all the libraries, is now up and running. And so we had a nice conversation last week with 14 of the library Friends groups participating. That is the Friends groups.
Thank you, Commissioner Kelly. And I can attest, I am a fan of the book purchases from Friends groups. I take my daughter every time we go to a library. So thank you for your service there and for your work with our Friends groups. Any other announcements before we turn it over to Commissioner Thorson, who will provide us an update from our San Jose Public Library Foundation? Okay, Commissioner Thorson, you can provide us a quick update on the Library Foundation.
Yeah, so the foundation is gearing up for the 35th anniversary gala. It is coming up on Thursday, October 20th. And you can now buy tickets. The theme is Alice in Wonderland. So it should be a lot of fun. I'm going to drop a link in for anyone interested to the chat where you can purchase tickets. The price for a ticket will go up after September 10th. So if you're interested in going, recommend purchasing them now. Also, if you want to bring a group of friends, you can buy a bundle of 8 tickets. And if you're interested in doing that, you can get in touch with Dawn. She's not here tonight, but I put in her email address in the chat. And the Gala Planning Committee is also in the process of lining up corporate sponsorships and also donations for the auction. So if you know of any corporate bodies who might be interested in sponsoring or know of some auction items, the foundation is looking for those. You don't have to make the ask yourself, but if you can just contact Jody Pulliam at the foundation with your information about an item or a sponsor, I dropped that in as well. So hopefully we'll see you there at the 35th Gala. Some other things that are going on, the advocacy committee has taken a summer break, but it sounds like we'll be meeting again in the early fall. So more to come on that. The foundation has also been in the process of hiring a number of new positions, and it sounds like those are being filled. So probably have some announcements at our next meeting. And then also just wanted to drop in a really great NBC Bay Area news piece that, in case you missed it, it's about a family who all works at San Jose Public Library. It's a lovely story, so recommend checking that out too. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Commissioner Thorson. Any questions for the update on the San Jose Public Library? All right. Thank you so much, folks. We will move on to our next item, which is opening up the floor for any future opportunities to participate for folks from the commission. Do folks have any opportunities to share? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to our next item, which is future agenda items. Do folks have any future commission meeting agenda items that they would like to review and to possibly add that are currently not in our work plan? So things that we may be able to add to our work plan. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to our next item, which is our adjournment. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us late. I know there's so much things that are happening in life, so I appreciate folks taking the time to spend with everyone. Commissioner Kelly, are you raising your hand?
Yeah, I think you wanted to go back to the beginning.
Oh my goodness, you are so right. Thank you so much for keeping me on my toes. Yes, if we can actually go back pretty far back, which is to number, I think it's number 3 on the agenda, which is our consent calendar. If I can please have a motion to approve our consent calendar, which includes the minutes for our June meeting, as well as the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Kelly. May I have a second?
Commissioner Mendoza, I can second.
Thank you, Commissioner Mendoza. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you again, y'all. Now, again, with that being said, thank you for being here present with us and for joining us late into the evening. Our next meeting is September 21st, 2022. It's expected to be a virtual meeting, but we will be providing more information as we get closer. With that being said, we will adjourn this meeting at 8:40. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your week. See you all in September.